Hello and welcome everybody to the Realtor Roast, the talk show where we roast real estate myths and brew up smart strategies. My name's Ethan, your host, and today I'm joined with a few other guests. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Edward.
Hi, I'm Zoe.
Hi, I'm Brian.
Yep, and we're all realtors and we're all a part of the same office. And today we are meeting because we wanted to debunk some of the most asked questions that we've been getting asked recently, correct guys?
Yep.
Again, feel free to interject whenever you guys want. We're gonna try to, go about this, have a good conversation, try to get some of these get a few opinions in and get some of these questions answered. A lot of these questions that we built today have gotten a lot of mixed reviews from people. But even let's say if we have an answer to them or if we don't have an answer to them, these are questions that we still find ourselves having to answer for other people, correct guys?
Yes.
Awesome. So, little bit of backstory about me. I'm a realtor. I was born and raised in the San Gabriel Valley area. I work out of SoCal area. All around nearby LA, Orange County.
And my name's Edward. I'm 3 years in the business. I live and grew up in Arcadia, and that's where I service mainly.
Yeah, I've also been licensed for almost a year now, and I also lived and grew up in Alhambra. Still here, still service LA and OC area, and yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in Arcadia, and recently I joined the. Oh, actually, never mind. I've been with the real estate industry for like almost a year now, and I live and service in the Empire.
Awesome. So, how about we jump right in, guys? I see here the first questions that we have is, we go through different things about mortgages. We go through different things about, futures for housing market, especially the fires that's been going on around.
Mhm.
We also have, timing, whether it's a good time to buy. How are people, how are people who are affected by the fires going to move forward? What different steps that you should take in order to get your first home. We have questions about tariffs and investing. So if this interests any of you guys, we're definitely covering all of that today. First questions, is about the mortgage rates. We've all had talks about this before. What are you guys' takes on people who say if or ask, are the mortgage rates going down anytime soon?
Well, I mean, where are the mortgage rate today? Like, everyone might have a different answer, but what are the interest rate today as of February 3rd, 2025?
Around like 6.8, somewhere around there.
6.8.
Yep.
Yeah.
Around there.
I think yesterday my client just locked in the interest at 6.25.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
With what is it? U.S. Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you could still get low sixes, and if U.S. Bank told my client if she bring in additional like 100,000 into savings, it doesn't have to be there for more than 6 months. After closing, they can take back the saving. But if they just do that, like put $100,000 in,
Mhm.
they could get additional 0.25% down, they can get like 6% interest rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of to bounce off of that, I feel like one thing that we were talking to people is it doesn't really matter whether the mortgage rates go down or not,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter on like what the Fed adjusted at. It matters on which lender you're working with.
Yeah.
Different lenders have different ways of getting you lower interest rates, whether it's, making you pay for that interest rates. If you have, better credit score, you might get a lower interest rate. Um, there's different aspects to it, and that's why I always tell people if you're looking for mortgage rates to go, or if you're like really just looking for lower interest rates, the first thing you should be doing is talking to a lender
Right.
instead of coming to a realtor or Googling what the interest rates are, because it changes every single time.
That's-
And it
yeah.
depends on your financial situation too. Like maybe you qualify for something that could get you potentially a lower rate.
Yep.
All things to consider. I think also a myth that a lot of new home buyers or people who aren't really familiar with like the housing market think about is like I think a lot of buyers right now are waiting for interest rates to drop back to 5%, right?
Yeah.
4% even, right? They're waiting for something, unfortunately, that just isn't going to happen in our projected future. Right now, I think Tom Ferry put out a statistic, and they did the average forecasted mortgage rate for 2025 for a 30-year fixed. And the projected rate that we're going to see this year is around 6.3. So that's already lower than what we've seen this past year and also right now in January. So interest rates, they will drop, but not as much as people think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. In 2015, I think we're going to stay around 6%. I think that we're gonna have a volatility.
2015, you mean 2025?
2025. Yes, 2025. I think we're going to stay around the 6% range.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, because I think one of the things people tend to not like take into account is like why do the interest rates move, you know? And this is one of those reasons why I always motivate people to, you know, get a realtor, work with a realtor. At least like you don't even have to like commit to them, or at least get some conversations in with realtors, because you know it's us who have to kind of get into this financial literacy in order to further help people. And oftentimes, you know, the biggest thing that people forget is why interest rates move. You know, interest rates move lower because the Fed is trying to spike up the market. If they're not going down, that means something about the market is going up pretty well. Exactly, the market's doing really well. And so that's why I'm saying, like, you know, when the market is doing well, you also probably should have a little bit more money in your pocket than you did, whether, you know, it was before or wasn't.
Right.
So, you know, like, at least most people are. And if the market keeps doing well, there's no reason for us to drop it lower. Then you're asking for way different, you know, situations. You're going to get into inflation, then you're also going to complain about prices being too high. Either way, prices are going to be high.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the one thing a lot of people are forgetting.
Yeah, like everything affects each other. It's not just one thing that's based on another thing. Like there are so many variables and so many moving parts that affect how the interest rates come to be, and that's just something that, I mean, we can throw out predictions and try and give our best guess for how it's going to look like, but we really don't know because that's not controlled by us, and we
Yeah.
have no insight on how they control that.
They change really fast too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like remember in November, everyone was so set. Yeah, we're gonna have 30 something, right? 30 something price cuts.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden, the minute it hits January, 2, 3, maybe 5,
Yeah.
below
Yeah.
5 now,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
It changed so fast, but it's all
Mhm.
because it's like, at the end of the day, after we look back at everything, the market, if everything's going well, they shouldn't be lowering it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they're actually protecting us more. Then I think now that we got that out of the way, do you guys want to split into what we talked about last week, which was like the whole, Brian, you did a very good video on it.
Which one?
About like why people shouldn't wait for lower interest rates. Because
Oh,
if
yeah.
we telling people, like, you know, I'm sure some of these people, if they're watching, you know, they're gonna be like, okay, yeah, interest rates aren't gonna go down anytime soon. Great, I'll wait another 2 years.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
Right,
I
right.
think a lot of people just waiting for the interest rate to go down to maybe 5%, 4%. I don't know if they remember back in COVID 2020 when the interest rate was at 2 or 3%, how crazy the market was. Like when the interest rate go down that much, could you even get a home?
Mm.
So is that if you cannot even get a home or secure a home at a lower interest rate, then why are you waiting for that?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
That time people were paying like 200,000 above, 3,000. The most I've heard is 500,000 above. And that time, I have a lot of friends who bought during that time. They had to waive all contingency, and today they all told me they regretted it
Mm.
because they have so much problem
Yeah.
with the house, and they weren't able to do a proper inspection when they purchased that house.
Mhm.
So, is that what you want for a lower payment?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also another thing that people can also consider right now is looking at new builds, right? When you consider buying new builds, some of the builders, they're offering incentives such as like 15,000, 10,000 towards your closing costs. On top of it, they'll also be offering, you know, like lower than standard interest rates, I know some people, I know some builders out there, they're offering like 4.99%, right now when it's like 6.5. So that's 1.5 lower. And that's a lot of money saved every single month.
Yeah. I mean, like at the end of the day, if people really wanted to save money just purely off of like um interest rates, there's so many solutions now that we have against it that can, you know, if you want a lower interest rate, we could get you lower interest rates. But it's
Sure.
gonna, you're gonna, there's always consequences, everything changes for a reason. There is gonna be, like, if you want a lower interest rate, you can find a lender who's willing to lower that interest rate for you for a good price.
Yeah.
Say that again, babes. You gotta say that again. I'm
Sorry, yeah, okay.
No.
We're laughing because we're all telling Edward to speak up louder. but what I meant is when it comes to try not to slam it too hard on the table because the mics are on the table. Sorry guys. But what I'm saying is because I just did a podcast with another lender, right?
Mhm.
If you guys wanted to, there are lenders out there who will charge you to get your interest rates lower.
Yeah.
They'll make you pay $10,000 to get a lower interest rate. They'll make you pay $5,000 to get a lower interest rate. But at the end of the day, like unless you're like a big math, like like a big math person or someone who's like really financially literate, like a lot of the times if you were to do that, you'd probably end up paying more to that lender compared to that little extra amount of what you would pay to just for that regular interest rate. And if you guys are okay with that, then that's fine. But it's more so it's like you're kind of lying to yourself thinking that you are paying less when you're probably paying the same amount, if not a very like unnoticeable amount less. Would you really like go through all that hassle, go through all that moving around just to pay, let's say, $40-$50 off of your mortgage rate? Or at the, like, realistically, probably a couple hundred. But even then, it's such a discernible amount to the point where I don't feel like it's worth it.
Not to veer away too much from real estate, but I feel like that's also something that's been an issue, like culturally or like societally. Like a lot of people, because of also how media is, we want like instant gratification. Like we want things to work out for us like now. Like we want what looks best now. But a lot of people try not, or fail to think about what is the long term benefit from this. Like does this make sense long term, right?
Exactly.
Like can I maybe put a little bit more of money down into this home that is going to be my primary or my forever home? Like you always want to make sure that you're not like regretting like an action that you could have made previously. Yeah.
And then like, okay, sorry. I realized the question that I asked was not answered yet. Because what I meant to say was like, besides outside of like interest rates, right? When those people do wait for those, like let's say if they did wait for a lower interest rate, I wanted to talk about the things that they might be missing out on if they actually went through with that. Because you just did it like, okay,
Right.
I know you did the video, so I want you to explain it for us.
Sure. Yeah. So the video that I did recently was about things that you could have missed out on if you were to wait for the interest rates to go down. And the key thing was home equity, right?
Yeah.
If you buy a house right now, you're starting to build that equity. You're paying your mortgage every single month, and you're starting that clock, right, from the time that you buy. But if you were to hold off and just wait for the interest rate to go down maybe 1 or 2%, that's probably gonna help you save like $500 a month or maybe $800 a month, right? But times 12 months, if you're gonna wait 1 year, that's 12 months. That's about $6,000, $7,000, right? At that point, if you start building your home equity now, you're at least gonna see 3 to 4% increase of your house in 1 year.
Exactly.
And that amount is gonna be a lot higher than the money that you're gonna be saving. Yeah. So with my personal experience, I was talking about my wife's home purchase. We bought it last October of 2023, and we came in at 8.125%. It was high.
That is
You
high.
It
were
was
the one
high.
who sold him the house, huh?
Yeah,
I'm the
and
one
Edward
that-
here, he was our agent.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it was very high, right? Everyone was telling us not to do it, not to buy it.
8.1 is pretty crazy.
Yeah, but then we also did some math. We're like, okay, what if we buy the house now and we just
start paying now, start building that equity, and then 6 months down the line or 1 year down the line, we'll refi,
Yeah.
right? And we actually did 10 months later, and we went down to 6.625, right? That was only $600 a month saved, right? So we only saved about $6,000 just by waiting 10 months. But if we were to buy the same house, same plan, that thing is gonna cost us $100,000. We don't even have the money, like an extra 100K in our savings to buy it like that.
Exactly.
Right. So it just didn't make sense in that situation. And that's what people are forgetting.
Yeah, it's like you're missing out on it.
You're missing out. Right.
You would be missing out on. You would not only be missing out on being able to buy your own home. That's your first home, right?
That's our first home.
Well, congratulations. I mean,
Yeah.
like, he would have missed out being able to buy his first home. Are you happy with that home?
Very happy.
That's great. See, he
Right.
would have missed out buying that home, being happy with that home, just because it was at a little bit of a higher price.
Right.
Compared to if he waited, and listened to everyone else, he would have never even been able to go into that home. You know, you probably would have had to lower your budget a lot more, and you probably would have been less happy in a different home.
Right.
You know, but I would say that's one of the best case scenarios for what we mean by buy now instead of waiting, because although you had a bigger interest rates, did your payments change a lot too after you refi?
So after we refied, we're now saving $600 a month.
Yeah, so $600 is the difference every month
Every
that you're
month.
saving.
Right.
I would say as much as you got personally, you guys jump in. I would say as much as it is a good save that you're saving $600 a month, if someone had that $600, or let's say if it was let's say they make a good amount, like $10K a month, right? Or somewhere around 6 figures. I would say saving that extra 600, or especially if they're dual income too, it's very easily disnoticeable,
Right.
dismissible.
It's not gonna make a dent in your
Exactly.
in your income.
Exactly.
Right.
If you could buy a house, you could afford $600
Yeah.
every month.
Right.
I feel like, but it's that's another thing another people forget. At the end of the day, it means you're saving.
Yeah.
So how
Wait,
about?
let me cut you off.
Okay, yeah, go
'Cause when you also have to think, right? You're not the only home buyer that's looking for a home, right?
Absolutely not.
There's a lot of other people, especially in California, that are looking to buy, whether that's investment or primary, right? So if you just think about how you're thinking, that's probably how everyone else is thinking. So when you're thinking, oh, I'm just gonna wait until the interest rates drop, every other buyer out there is thinking the same exact thing, right? So what do you do to lessen that competition? You think outside of the box, and you think not like the masses would, right? So that's why the people that are able to get into their homes go in when there's less competition, which is now when people think the interest rates are high. Yeah.
So let's.
Cross that T.
Cluck that tea.
That tea.
All right, let's.
And before you go on to the next one, I
Yeah.
also wanted to share another thing. A lot of people are just on the sideline, as Zoe is saying. They're all waiting for the interest rate to drop. But we're fortunate to live in SoCal, Los Angeles area, where homes are selling every single day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right now, I don't know about nationally, but in our market, the market has picked up already. It's selling fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So houses here is like gold. It's pretty liquid.
Mhm.
I have one instances where this just happened. I helped a client buy the house last year, and this year she already wanted to get out.
Oh.
She already want to get out after 1 year.
Mhm.
And why I'm saying this is, after 1 year she wanted out. I help her get out, and she made money within this just 1 year.
Exactly.
Just
Minus
1 year.
after all the realtor costs, all the
Yeah.
closing costs, she still pocket a little bit more money.
Yeah.
So that's what buying early gives you. You start building that equity, so you, even if you want out, you have money to go out.
Yeah, California real estate, you always walk out a little bit richer than you walked in.
It always appreciates.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it depends.
Oh,
It depends.
Well,
Depends,
SoCal?
but most of the time.
Not everyone comes out on top. Okay. For instance, the people who went through the 08, 09 crash, some of them actually just broke even this year.
Mhm.
And it's been 20 years almost. It's been 15, 20 years? Yeah, some of them just broke even. So it's true. You don't always make money. It depends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank God that, okay, as of right now, we might not see something like that, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
The fact that we do have high interest rates is the reason why we know that that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But what is happening right now is something that is a lot more unpredictable, somewhat predictable, but we couldn't run away from it. So, um, for most of you guys who, especially if you guys are in SoCal, you know, we have a very historical fire that's going on right now. Pacific Palisades, all of that, like around Malibu area, all of it burned out. Altadena burned out. I think there's way more now. Somewhere in like towards like
Santa Clarita
Santa
area?
Clarita, yeah, LA,
Yep.
San Diego.
San Diego. San Diego, really?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. So we have a bunch of fires that are going on in California right now.
Castaic Lake.
Castaic Lake, that's exactly what I was thinking. Santa Clarita, Valencia. What do you guys think is going to happen to the fires? I mean, to the market after these fires, because this is a lot of acreage. This is a lot of homes that are being damaged, destroyed. People are losing equity. You know, people like houses that are even on market are being burned down too. You know, we
Yeah.
know a couple of realtors who lost their listings to the fires. So, what do you guys think about this entire like housing market situation?
I think, well, first of all, it's very sad because this is very heavy devastation that we're seeing. And, like, aside from what's going to happen economically, like, a lot of people are losing their homes that they, put their blood, sweat, and tears into buying,
Yeah.
building. And that's just one thing. Like, our hearts go out to the people that were affected by that.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. But second of all, I think if housing prices weren't going up already, they're definitely going up now because after so many people have been displaced, now there's a ton of buyers entering the market to find another home. And not only that, we also have less inventory because of the fires.
Yeah.
So I think, it's just going to be very difficult. Again, you're competing with a lot of other home buyers to
Yeah.
Yeah.
find a home in SoCal, and also, unfortunately, the cost of materials is probably going to go up as well.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
exactly. You just exactly covered what I wanted to say. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of like a mixed bag, right? Different places are gonna see different things. Definitely, majority of the places, especially places that weren't damaged by the fire, you're probably gonna see like some hike go up for people who were displaced, and if they had the equity to move out, they'll probably find a way back in.
Mm-hmm.
Almost unarguably, the rental market went up.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Yeah.
shoot up. That we don't even have to. I don't even think we have to talk about that because I was like, there's no question about that.
Yeah.
Everyone can see it. Rental market shot up like crazy. Whether it's gonna stay like that or not, we don't know. Right? Or actually, that's actually a good question.
Mhm.
Rental market is going up. Prices are going up. Do you guys think it's gonna stay like that, or do you guys think it's gonna drop at some point?
I think for this year, at least, it's going to be very hot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I don't, I think the people who were affected are probably scared to put their money into another home, so they might be okay with renting and not even just renting, right? Like short-term rentals, like Airbnbs, like everything in our area. So, like, 626 for sure is like booked up. Like, it's very, very difficult to find a place to rent or even short-term rentals. So, at least for this year.
Yeah, I feel like the rental market is probably going to stay for maybe a year or so, just to have those people who were displaced to settle down and kind of plan their next steps.
Mhm.
And I feel like after a year, we'll start to pick up in terms of the houses. People are now going to consider moving out from the areas that they were displaced from
Yeah.
and move inwards, right? Like those
Mhm.
people who lost their homes in Palisades, they may not have the time to rebuild again. It may take some time, maybe 3-5 years, we don't know, right? So those people definitely they will move inwards, maybe to West LA, maybe to LA, maybe to the SGVs area, maybe even to the Inland Empires.
I heard of some people just straight up getting the hell out of California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People
they just-
even left.
They just went out. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
but
Yeah.
obviously the people who stayed, they have lives here. They
Mhm.
want to, they want to stay here, either rebuild or do
Mhm.
something. And I think with the case of rebuilding, that in itself is, like you said, going to drive up labor costs a lot too.
Right.
And I think, um, you know, contractors are going to get expensive.
Yeah.
Like, you
yeah.
know, contractors are going to get expensive. Architects are probably going to get a
Yeah.
lot more jobs getting put out there.
Right.
Our buddies at Fortress are going to be
Oh,
happy.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, like, that stuff is not going to happen fast either. You know, a lot of the people, even like the people who are in those really big houses in Palisades and everything, a lot of those people, their wealth was tied into that home.
Mm.
So I feel like it's still going to take a couple of years for them to not only just get their financial footing like stepped in, but also like all the permitting, you know, clearing out whatever, and even just rebuilding it itself is going to take a couple of years until the Palisades
And the
look-
insurance.
and the insurance. Like
Insurance
that
is-
part is wild.
Yeah.
I think if we dive into that, we're going to go a couple of hours.
No, I think we should save that.
Yeah, but I think all of that in combined, you kind of already know. In order for the Palisades to look the same way that they're gonna look, or even like have the same environment as they did before, which I'm sure people are gonna fight for it. You know, no one wants to lose that, especially out of Malibu and the Palisades. It's gonna take a long time until it looks the way that it used to.
Yeah.
You know, or I feel like it might look better actually. It's gonna look way cooler.
Okay. I don't know about like the specifics on this. I only saw this on Twitter, so let's just.
Oh, it's a certified news platform now.
I mean, hey, let me just preface that. I did see that there might be potentially like plans to buy out that land and turn it into like new build, like
Really?
territory home. Yeah,
I would hate that.
yeah. I mean, it makes the most sense because we have low inventory and like, you know, some people are gonna choose to sell their land in that area.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they're able to get like a big enough lot size where they can, because you know, new built homes, the lot sizes are not non-existent, you know?
Right.
And if you're trying to solve the housing crisis that we have right now in SoCal, like you would want to build as many homes as you can to get as many people in, right? And that works out for the developers and contractors too. So I think if they're able to get their hands on that land, they will go ahead and build some kind of new build structure where they can try
Yeah.
to house.
They're gonna have to fight for a lot of land though. Like you're gonna have to get every single place.
I honestly think like the new build, the developer, the big developer,
Mhm.
they come in, they look at like Ethan Canyon, Ethan Fire, Altadena, small lots. They have to buy from so many small homeowners. That's a lot of work. That's a
That's
lot.
what I
That's a
said.
big hassle.
Yeah.
And plus, is it zoned for that?
Yeah. You know what
Big
situation you're gonna run
Should we
into?
zone it, though?
No, you know what
So-
situation you're gonna run into if you keep doing that? Have you guys ever watched Up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
How they develop the entire thing, but they surround that one person who never
Oh,
sold?
yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna have that problem.
For sure.
Because there are still some
Yes.
like those singular houses
No,
that
yeah.
have never been touched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna have that problem.
So
And
what I've heard, like there's a rumor going around in Sierra Madre or Altadena where the fire happened, where the homes are burned down. They said because of the lack of inventory, now they're trying to rezone it from R1, like R1 to maybe R2, R3, where you can have multiple
Multifamily,
unit,
yeah.
multifamily, but it's still a residential area.
Mhm.
It will solve the inventory problem.
yeah.
However, it will bring in more people, so higher density.
I think if
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
any place that would be good for like multifamily, Altadena would do way better than Palisades or Malibu or anything.
Yeah.
I think that would probably be the only place that I would you know,
Yeah.
I would probably see the like you know big companies come into.
Yeah.
And I think it might be better for that too. Because I think Altadena in itself was a pretty dense population area. So I think it would make sense if they walked into that area. But yeah, I mean, especially to anyone who has been affected by the fires. First of all, we hope you guys are okay. We hope your families are okay and you guys are like, you know, you guys still have work and everything, and we hope that everything is going well for you guys. I do want to put out a reminder for you guys that like, you know, there are different steps that you guys still need to do in consideration of your house, especially if, let's say, your insurance was still valid. You guys should be filing claims with your insurance as soon as possible. Talk to your insurance provider, you know, talk to realtors to put you in contact with insurance providers. And secondly, make sure to get your property reassessed too, because the taxes will still come, and unless you file for calamity relief, There was a longer word to that. There's a longer name for it, but it's disaster and calamity relief. If you guys file for that, you guys will get your property reassessed, and your property taxes will be based on that reassessed value. So especially if your houses has been like what damaged by the fires, you guys can get it reassessed, and you guys can save yourself some some whatever you owe to Uncle Sam.
Mhm.
So yeah, is there anything else on what you guys think? The people, how these people should be moving on after the fires. And we're good.
No, I think I want to say something else about insurance, but I don't know if you want to save it.
I mean, you can make it short if it's short.
I think something that we're getting more familiar with because, as real estate agents, we're supposed to, do our best to, stay up to date on everything that's happening. We just had a class from Pepper Who, and she told us about, how to handle insurance moving forward after the fires. And something that she had mentioned was that you need to make sure if you are going to move, well, one, homeowners insurance in California is going to be expensive and potentially difficult to find depending on what area you're looking to buy in. And that being said, make sure that if you do happen to buy in a high fire zone or, adjacent to a high fire zone, that you check your coverage to make sure. I think there's different policies and, one plan might seem more expensive than the other, but that plan is more expensive for a reason. Like it might have more coverage on, personal items like jewelry or, high-end bags, things like that. I think definitely if you kind of rushed into buying homeowners insurance and you didn't take the time to understand it, I think now if you were affected, even if you weren't affected, it would be a good time to really dive deep into your insurance policy coverage and ask your agent all the important questions. Like really dive deep into what's covered and what you can potentially add on because that could really help you if you do happen to be affected by a natural disaster like this in the future.
And that's another good reason on why you should have a realtor. Because
Yeah.
if your insurance provider is not going to cover it with you, your realtor should. So let's move on. We have some first-time homebuyer questions here.
Mm-hmm.
This is for people who are maybe interested in, let's say now's your time that you want to probably buy a home,
Mm-hmm.
right? What do you guys think is the first moves that first-time homebuyers should be going for, their forever home, their starter home, budget-friendly, the max they can get, low interest rates, high? We talked about the interest rate part already.
Mm-hmm. I think it's difficult to give kind of a blanket solution to everything. Everyone's situation is different. Everyone approaches things differently. But I think the main consensus that a lot of agents bring up to their clients is if you're financially ready and just plain ready to buy a home, just get into the California housing market when you can, whether that's a condo, townhome, single family home, just get your foot in the door because even if you're not planning to stay there forever, you can turn that into an investment property in the future. And that way you can build your portfolio slowly and, that's how you build your financial wealth and, just portfolio.
Yeah, I would say of all the first-time homebuyers that I've ever worked with, there's definitely as realtors, there's a stereotype between first-time homebuyers. They always follow around the kind of the same footing where it's they're always aiming for the dream home. Usually, they're very, very picky because, understandably, this is your first big purchase. This is probably going to be one of the biggest purchases in your life. You will remember this purchase, and you don't want to make it. You don't want to regret it. But I say this to all first-time homebuyers. The key is just to, like you said, get your foot in the door. Doesn't matter about whether you're gonna fall in love with the home, whether you're gonna hate it in 5 years or not. Realistically, you're probably not gonna stay in it for 5 years. Even if you don't like it, tying back to the beauty of Southern California, when you walk out, you'll probably walk out a little bit
Yeah.
up higher than when you walked in. And that's what I always try to remind them, you know, like, don't be afraid to buy like a house that might need a little bit of remodeling, you know,
Yeah.
might need a few changes here and there. Or don't even be afraid to get into a house that you kind of feel like is not the house you want to like start a family in. Like, let's say if you're a younger person, like 27 or or like 25, like below 27, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think a few years after that is still young too. But, you know, around that age, if you're still like not looking for kids, you know, and you're thinking about buying a house and you're still gonna wait a couple of years before you have kids, I think you should just get a house so then you can like build your way up. You know, it's all about getting that equity, and then tying it into a different place instead of renting out a place, burning away your equity, and then wondering why you can't afford a place later on.
Yeah, I think it ties back into wanting instant gratification. Like you want your first search to be your first, your forever home. And sometimes you have to take a step back. Yes, like make sure you like the home. You don't want to buy a home and, beat yourself up every day you wake up. Make sure you like the home, make sure that it's not like, I don't know, not like mold infested or anything. Protect your health, take the necessary steps that you need to.
I think what you said is true. I would say when it comes to like if you're a first time home buyer and you're like, okay, I just want to get my foot in the door, right? Let's say you're like a financially literate first time home buyer and you understand that getting your foot into the California real estate market is going to be a big plus for you. I would say get a place that is just not going to break on you, you know? Like get a place that probably has new AC, like a relatively new roof, well maintained AC unit, easy to maintain.
Make sure it's a well-built home. I think that's what I meant to say.
Foundation, foundation is good and
yeah.
everything. Like nothing sus about it, and and as long as you can live in that house for 5 years, I guarantee you, and you keep it well too. I guarantee you'll be able to sell it for way higher later down the line. You know, like nice neighborhood too, or like livable neighborhood,
yeah.
okay neighborhood. You know, California works miracles
Yeah.
when it comes to that aspect. You know, like that's the one thing that we see with a lot of first time home buyers is they get really really picky, and that's what delays them all the time. You know, like you'll hear stories from first time home buyers. You ask them how long have you been looking for, and they're like, oh, 3-4 years now. And they've just been sitting with whatever savings they've had for 3-4 years waiting for that right home. And then you're like, wow, you're probably missing out on hundreds and thousands of
and it could have been
dollars in
building
equity.
up. Yeah.
Exactly. Like 4 or 5 years, that's probably an extra like $200,000-$300,000 in your pocket and like net after you sold. And you could have bought a bigger house already.
I have a friend, she bought in Rancho Cucamonga, and I think they bought their home like maybe 3 years ago. And I was just talking to her because she's been, reaching out to me and trying to see like how the market is here in Arcadia, Alhambra, 626 area. And I was curious to see like why she decided to buy in Rancho initially if she likes this area so much. And she said that, it's cheaper out east, right?
Oh, yeah.
So she bought a condo, I believe, and, her plan is to build equity with that home, right? Live in it for a few more years, and then sell that home, or keep it and rent it out, and then move back, And I think that's something that, some people can choose to do, but, what she's doing, she knows the value of California real estate, and she's using that to her advantage. Sure, maybe she doesn't want to be living in Rancho all her life, but it's temporary. And ultimately, you do get to move back into the neighborhood that you want to live in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Because I also work with a lot of first-time home buyers, and what I always tell them, like, buying a house you shouldn't sacrifice so much for buying your first house.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, if you work and your social circle is, like, for example, like Arcadia, but Arcadia single families are very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you just buy a condo in Arcadia where your social circles, where you work, just try to stay here and so you still have your life around here. but just go for a condo first
Yeah.
instead of buying like 20-30 minutes away.
Just to
and
be in
just
single
to
family.
get into single family.
Yeah.
Mm,
You're gonna like regret it after 1 year of spending 1 to 2 hours commute every
Yeah.
single day.
Yeah.
You're going to regret it.
Yeah, as long as it fits your standards.
Yeah.
I would say in your like that example you used though is really funny because you said like houses in our Arcadia specifically. I don't think I think if you're talking about Arcadia in specific, townhomes do not make that big of a difference in price. I don't know if you saw, but like back in September or like August or July, there was this one home that went up in Arcadia. All the windows were broken and everything, and it still sold for $1 million.
Oh,
It was crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a fixer.
But the price between, like, for example, in Arcadia, a regular single family, 1 story, can go anywhere from like 1.5 to 2 million.
Yeah, it's still
Yeah.
different.
Like to get
Still
just to
different.
get in a single family.
Yeah.
But a townhomes may cost you like $1 million.
Yeah.
And the condo, I've seen like 700,000 dollars. So that's a big drastic. That's
Yeah.
a drastic difference.
Definitely.
So yeah, I would, for a first-time home buyer, I would say don't go out of your like circle, your work area, too far. Try to stick where you are, but buy a condo first.
Yeah, I think also like you bring up a really good point. I think we're all just sharing different ways that you can go about getting into housing here, right? But again, every situation is different, and that's why it's really important for you to have an agent. You're gonna bounce your ideas off of them. They're gonna figure out what your priorities are, like what is important to you, and tell you what's the best course of action, right? Like they're gonna be your best friend throughout the whole process.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's just why it's really important to have that kind of guidance.
When it
Yes,
comes
it's
to
scary.
even like let's say first time home buyers, what are your guys' thoughts on first time home buyers looking to get into like investing like right away?
Mm.
Like what I mean by
First
that,
time home buyers getting
Yeah.
into investing.
Are you talking about instead of buying the primary residence,
like just
they
focusing
want to
on-
buy a rental first?
multifamily.
A multifamily
So
to start
like
off.
so
Okay.
yeah, I mean it's a very common method
Yeah,
that a
yeah.
lot of people, especially younger people, are
For
trying
sure.
to get into.
For sure.
When you buy your first property, you want to get multiple units.
Mhm.
You live in one of them, rent out the other two. What do you guys think about that?
I think that's a great idea and a good thing to have because I feel like that's kind of what I'm doing right now with my wife.
Mhm.
We're living in a 5 bedroom and we're renting out the 4 other rooms.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
they're the amount of money that we're getting is covering the mortgage and utilities. Now we only have to pay the property tax.
Oh wow.
That's
Dude.
it. Yeah. So
That's-
it helps
that's-
out. Yeah. It's
You're-
it's definitely a good way of
House hacking.
He's
house
walking-
hacking.
yeah,
This is house hacking.
You're walking the housing market financial dream.
Yeah,
right now,
this is
dude.
essentially how you house hack, and I always encourage all my friends to do it because
Yeah.
this is one of the ways to cut down on your expenses.
Yeah.
Right. When you get into a house where you have to pay like $5,000, you can go into a house, rent out the other 2 or 3 rooms, and now you only have to pay 2 or 3 thousand extra.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
and you're building equity on top of that. Right.
Clock it.
Fuck
Right.
that shit.
Yeah, it's very good, but it really depends on what you're trying to do, right? I have some friends, they don't want to do that. They want privacy.
Mm.
Maybe they're starting to think about having family, right? So everyone has different plans, everyone has different goals when they're buying into a house, right? So if I would suggest if you're single or if you are in a relationship but are not planning to have any kids, house hacking is one of the best ways to get in
Oh yeah.
into a house.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're young and your friend groups are still big and everything,
Yeah,
everyone's trying to move out.
right.
Everyone's trying to move out, and especially in this day and age where hustle culture is like super duper high and everything, everyone's trying to find the most smartest way of moving out. I would say that's probably one of them. Like the minute you get a good paying job and you get pre-approved or you get like dual income pre-approved to be able to buy a house, jump right into it and do exactly what you're doing. House hack.
Mhm.
You know, house hacking is probably going to be anyone, like any first time home buyer's like best friend getting into the Southern California market, you know. because it's like, you know, I will say this with, like, you know, good confidence. It's true. The housing prices here are crazy. You know, like it's definitely way higher than most other places. You know, California is probably one of the highest, like, you know, real estate markets.
I
And
think
if
it
you,
is.
it is no,
Or New
one
York.
of, I think it's Washington.
What the fuck? You just made that up.
Uh,
Cut that out. I
uh,
cannot be cussing on.
what I mean is that, like, it's one of the top five, top threes for sure. And if people want to stay in this area, especially since so many people love this area, in order for you to get your footing into the housing market here, you're gonna have to jump onto that train like super duper fast. You know, like you're gonna have to pull like different strategies out, and that's why knowing a realtor or having realtor friends, getting on calls with realtors is just so much more important now.
To your question about like should people first time home buyer invest in a multifamily, right?
Mhm.
That was your question.
That was my question.
Yeah. So I think it's good because now everyone don't see a home as just a place to live, but they also see it as a vehicle of investment.
Mm.
So if you get into a multifamily, duplex, triplex, fourplexes, those are still considered a residential
Yeah.
when you go five units and below.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But you're actually 4 units still residential, 5 units it's commercial.
Mhm.
But the amount of work between the 4 unit and the 5 unit is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So I would say if you never had any property management skills before, I would suggest to start with the duplex, where you live in one, you manage one tenant, and that's it. Easy, simple as that.
Yeah.
But if you feel like you have a lot of time and you'll work it out, you could try a fourplex right off the bat. Live in one, manage 3 tenants. You could try
That's
that.
fine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Especially if you're
Smart.
younger too. Those tenants could be your friends. You
Yeah.
know?
yeah.
Then it's like you know you don't have to go around looking like having tenant problems or anything.
Yeah.
And like you'll have people that you know you can trust who will be able to like pay up or like you know
Right.
you can take care of your friends too.
Yeah,
Win-win.
it's a win-win situation.
Hawaii is the most expensive state, but California is second.
Okay, there you go.
So,
But Washington is like right below, right?
No, it's Massachusetts.
Oh, whoops.
Washington is fifth.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm only licensed in California.
Yeah.
So, we have one last question here, and then we'll try to wrap it up. There are new tariffs that are affecting home buying. There are new tariffs that are happening. How do you guys think that's going to affect building materials?
Yeah, so just to give a quick context on this tariffs, on Saturday, Donald Trump came out and said that he's going to be implementing 25% import tariffs on Canada and Mexico and 10% tariff for the imports coming from China. And I feel like it's going to affect the economy and the housing market as well, just because we import a lot of wood, like lumber and gypsums that you use in the drywalls. Those are being imported from Canada and Mexico, and that directly affects the prices of materials for building houses, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And especially right now, we have a low supply of inventory already. Tackling this on top of the fires that we have is going to drive up the prices of things even higher. Materials costs are going to go up, labor cost is going to go up, and a lot of times these added costs, they're going to be passed on directly to the home buyers,
Yeah.
right? Unfortunately, that's news. Unless those contractors and builders, they're very nice, they would split and take some, right, of the prices and just like let those things eat into the profits. But just in general, that's kind of how we are right now. And I heard just now, like in the past like couple of hours, they actually put a delay of this. They put a 30-day pause on the tariffs. Okay, so it was actually about to go into effect, but they put a pause on it for like the next 30 days.
Is it because of the fires?
Not because of the fires, just because I think Trump and Canada and Mexico, they're still trying to talk things out.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but regardless of what, that's the plan, and we just have to prepare ourselves for the increases.
Yeah, and I think especially since like that on top of the fires and rebuilding and everything, like all of that just screams like higher labor costs. At the end of the day, higher housing prices too. You know, especially back in Palisades and Malibu too. Those are probably just gonna stay exactly where they were. I think at the end of the day, that's one of the reasons why, again, when we say like when it comes to first time home buyers, you have to be smart about the kind of houses that you buy.
For sure.
You know, you shouldn't be looking at that house that makes you feel like that like meets all of your material dreams.
That $5 million house.
Yeah, that $5 million
checks all the
house.
boxes.
Yeah, that checks all the boxes. Not even just that. Like,
Yeah.
let's say your budget is $1 million or sub $1 million. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be looking for that house that fits your just material dreams now. You know, where it's like, oh, I want to be able to have a nice backyard. I want to be in the school district that I want, or I want to be like next to this place because of that. I love the sunlight. I like the direction. You know, all of that stuff is material stuff. Now you also have to think about it from a financial aspect, you know? Now you have to pay attention to the inspection, you know? Like, is the foundation going to stay here for the next 10 years? Is the roof going to leak on me? Am I going to have to replace the roofs anytime soon? Am I going to have to be the one responsible for covering thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damage? Or am I going to pay that price when I try to sell that house later on, you know? So it's like, that now is probably more than ever the biggest, like, things that buyers should be looking at,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
But still, buy now.
Why now?
All right.
Buy now.
Okay.
I think we covered all of it. That was a good time, guys.
We kind of
That
ate
was.
that.
We
Yeah.
did.
We kinda-
We
Awesome.
ate it.
we ate.
You guys wanna sign out? We're gonna give one last outro.
Sure.
We're gonna say to everyone, thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, this is the Realtor Roast, the talk show where we roast real estate myths and brew up smart strategies. We had very good smart strategies brewed up today. What do you guys think? We have our coffees around except for Brian. Brian stuck to Water Gang. Boo. But dude, I almost finished mine. Dude, you guys are
You didn't
slacking.
sip your coffee once.
I did.
I
I
did
did.
not. I was watching you the entire time.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, once again, my name is Ethan Tran. All of your contacts are going to be at the bottom, by the way. All our phone numbers, emails, DRE numbers, that's all
Sure.
going to be at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, my name is Ethan. I'm a realtor in SoCal area.
Edward from Arcadia. Woo!
Zoe Perez from Alhambra.
Brian Wang from the IE.
Why are we doing the from stuff?
I
Hold
don't
on,
know.
Ethan
Cut
Tran
that
from
off.
Arcadia too.
Hey, we gotta partner up.
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, thank you guys. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Everyone say goodbye.
Bye.
Peace.